I'm Tucson Morrison with Onsite Media, and I'm here with Nord Distillery owner Chris Montana. You put out a statement last Thursday, I believe, May 28th, and you said that Nord had made it through the night of the Wednesday night riots. And what did you say in that statement?
I'll be honest with you, Tucson. I don't know if I remember.
Well, because I read it and I remember it very well, because it really it kind of made me weep. You said we're kind of going to give up the building to the community, and we don't want our staff standing in front of it and risking their lives for it. There's a lot of ethanol in here, and it could blow, and nobody needs to lose a life. It's just stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I had kind of already gone through the grieving process for Nord at that point. Having been a part of the protests and seeing the dynamic between the two separate groups, and knowing that the protesters were going to go home and the partiers were going to be all that was left, I think the writing was on the wall that there was going to be, it was going to get explosive. And at the end of the day, this is just a building, and the stuff in it is just stuff. I know that I knew that there was some energy that people wanted to come. They said, well, we'll stand outside of Nord and we'll defend it. And there's nothing that's inside of here that's going to be worth a life. And if you want to talk about tragedy, we already lost a man in a gruesome fashion, George Floyd, the way he was murdered. And I didn't want that on my conscience, and it would have been, would have compounded the sadness of the time to have somebody else come here and potentially give their life just over stuff.
Yeah.
And as it happened, there ended up being some people in the back from another business while this place was while the garage was set on fire. And they were hiding in there, and but for a sprinkler system, they would have been casualties. Jeez. So we dodged a bullet there. It is just stuff, and what I said then was, basically I'm going to give it to South Minneapolis. If she gives it back to me, then we're going to reopen.
So
and she gave most of it back to me.
She did. And so you had some things burned down in the warehouse, not in this space, the distilling space. But this is some of the casualties of what happened in the warehouse?
Yeah, people, they must have come in and they stole what they could carry. I found cases of booze all around the road outside.
Okay.
But what they couldn't carry, they tried to set on fire. And you can tell the sprinklers kicked in, if you want to do a little forensics here, because the cardboard would have all burned. But when you burn these things, they don't the alcohol in them won't ignite, but they'll heat up and they'll shoot their corks out. That's why all these bottles, while they're all missing their corks, at one point or another, there would have been a little fireworks show of corks shooting off. But yeah, the sprinklers kicked on. That kept the ethanol tanks from catching fire. If they would have caught fire, then the whole place would be gone.
Okay. And now the whole place is not gone. So do you think there's a future for Nord Distillery moving forward?
I think there is. Honestly, between me, you, and the wall and these cameras, I want to make it bigger and better than ever.
Yeah.
I think, I've never, and you know this, I've never really leaned into the fact that the Nord was the first black-owned distillery in the country. And I've had some conversations with some people recently that have galvanized me and made me feel like, this is something that the legacy brands, they all been handed down generation to generation. We need that too. And so it's time for us to be a little more vocal, and we're going to step out and we're going to work hard on some of the issues that matter to us. And I fully intend on rebuilding. I want to rebuild better than ever.
Okay. And kind of your response in that, so part of it burns down, you keep going, and now the community has a need. And so I just want us to just walk around and look at a little of the stuff that is the response. So because you were still up and running, you were able to start a food and supply bank.
Yeah, the way I see it right now, we have three needs, right? We probably have more, but there are three that I can do anything about. The first one, the immediate need, is that the Target's gone, the Cub's gone, the Aldi's gone. All the places that people used to go to get food, toilet paper, toothbrushes, all those types of things, they're gone. And if you have a car and you can drive outside of the city, then you can go to the suburbs, you can buy what you need. If you don't, if you are already homeless, if you already were struggling, then this is a terrible situation for you. So that immediate need is we need to get those types of supplies to people.
Okay.
And so that's what you're seeing around here. That's the immediate need.
Yeah.
There's an intermediate need, which is there are a number of black and brown businesses, and they usually start with not enough money, the same way that I did mine. They may or may not have insurance, and if they have insurance, they may be underinsured. And so there is a chance that we're going to lose a large number of our Black and brown owned businesses. And so we started a fund to support them. That money doesn't go to me. Myself and Tina Rexing from T-Rex Cookies are administering it right now.
Wow.
So far we've raised almost $250,000 and we're shooting for $1 million. And so all that money is going to be used to support. I mean, if you don't have insurance, then who's going to pay to put the glass back in your windows, right?
Where can people go to fund that?
So it's GoFundMe. It's the Do Nord Riot Recovery Fund.
Okay.
And you can find it on GoFundMe. And anyone who wants to support us, I think we're going to be okay. I would direct them to that Riot Recovery Fund.
Okay.
And then there's the long-term goal. And the long-term goal is something I can work on. It's something you can work on. It's something we all can work on. But it's not something that's immediately within our power. And that is, we've got to get together and we got to talk about doing this differently.
Yeah.
There is a scar that is a visible manifestation of the anger and frustration that has existed in our community for a very long time. And when I say our community, I do mean the Black community, but I also mean the community around it, right? It's not just people with this skin. It's people who understand what this skin means. And so that scar is visible. If you walk down Lake Street, you'll see it. And what that's going to look like a year from now is probably much like it looks now. They're going to be brown fields. There's not going to be much there.
Yeah.
That's a tragedy. And a lot of really good businesses were lost, and a lot of people are going to lose their livelihoods, and that is crushing. I don't mean to make that, to minimize that, but it's also an opportunity. That's got to get rebuilt, and how it gets rebuilt is a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
If we do it in a way that makes that look like the mosaic that is the Twin Cities, and if we use it as an opportunity to build wealth in communities of color, that kind of wealth and owning buildings, not just being an employee with a good job, but owning the building, owning the business, right? That allows us to draw more wealth into the community, and economic power is one of the legs of the stool that's been missing in communities of color. So we've got a chance to do this right. That doesn't mean everything along there needs to be Black owned, doesn't mean it all needs to be Latino owned. That's not the point. That's not the mosaic. The mosaic is everybody, but right now the mosaic isn't represented in business ownership. It's not represented in property ownership. I think we have a chance to do it better. So that's going to be about putting pressure on politicians, on city leaders to make sure zoning laws get passed, so we can turn this into something that when our kids, at least my kids, whenever you get kids, they can look back and be like, man, this place is awesome. When did this happen? We can say, you know what? George Floyd was murdered. And what happened after that was we finally figured it out.
Yeah.
And we did it the right way.
Cool. I was just in here expecting to talk to you about some of the damage that happened. And again, gold. Thank you so much for sharing your time. And the Do Nord Recovery Riot Fund is where people can go on GoFundMe to start chipping into Black-owned businesses to get them insured or help them rebuild, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Cheers.